guys, are you taking the ACT soon and wondering how do you deal with some of the hardest ACT reading questions? If so, we're going to go over a couple in this video today. Before I get into the video too far though, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check out SupertutorTV.com. We have a prep course there for the ACT with over 100 hours of video prep. So if you're looking to really get the best score possible, we've helped people prep from anywhere up to 12 points on the exam. So go check it out, SupertutorTV.com. And one more fun fact is that we also now offer SAT prep, the best SAT prep course ever. You can also find at SupertutorTV.com. If you would like to keep in the know with all the videos that we have here on Super Tutor TV, subscribe to our mailing list, SupertutorTV.com/subscribe, and we'll keep you in the loop. You can also follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. And let's get started with this video. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull two questions from this test. This says 2015-2016 preparing for the ACT test. This is a practice test that was given out for free by the ACT people at ACT.org. It is not the 2019 version, which is what is on their website as of today, December something 2018. So I'm going to show you how to get a copy of this. This is the 2015, 2016, 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018. All three of those releases, so you see how there's 2 years per release? All three of those releases are the same exact test. You'll know it because it says the triangular snowflake when you get to the English section right here. And I'm going to show you where you can download this. If you go online to supertutortv.com/resources, you'll find this beautiful page of resources. The first few links are all SATs, but then if you come down here, boom, 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 to ACT 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 practice test, boom, click on that. And we do have answer explanations for the rest of the questions from this test as part of that course that I just described, as part of our ACT prep course. But I'm just going to explain a couple of those questions here, which I find to be very difficult. So the first thing you want to do is open up that packet, and then you can go to passage 3 here, the Bradbury paired passages in the humanities. And you're going to go to questions 23, and then we're also going to explain 25. 23, by the way, I think is one of the hardest ACT questions I have ever seen. 25, not quite as hard, but still a challenge. So those are the ones we're going to talk through. And here we go. Number 23, Bradburys Claim. I would then take arms against the word or for it. Most strongly suggest during his writing sessions, Bradbury would. So whenever I have these most strongly suggests kind of questions, these are what I call function questions, meaning we're looking for sort of like, how is this functioning and what does it mean in context, or like meaning in context, maybe we could call it. Right, what's the purpose that he has in writing this? His claim suggests what, like what's the function of that claim, or what's the meaning of that claim in context? In either case, this kind of a question, right? We have a little quote and then we're asked to like interpret that quote. Whenever we have that kind of a circumstance, the number one thing that I want you guys to think about is context, okay? Context is king, as I like to say, context. So always think context first. What that means is I don't want you to just look down and think about what this means isolated, okay? And I want you to be skeptical of any answer choices that seem right absent of the passage completely, okay? Of answers that require no context, okay? That don't require any context. I'm going to be skeptical of those. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means I'm going to be skeptical of them. I'm not going to automatically assume that if something sounds reasonable, if this sounds like what it is. Now, sometimes the literal answer is right. Sometimes whatever this literally means is literally the answer. But I'm going to be skeptical of those answer choices in case there's anything else that arises that doesn't maybe seem on face value what this thing means, but is very highly supported by the context. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is go back to where this is in this Bradbury thing, and I'm going to try to zoom out, as I like to say, and figure out the context of what's going on. So here it says, it is with great relief that, I'm going to read from here, that in my early 20s, I floundered into a word association process in which I simply got out of bed each morning, walked to my desk, and put down any word or series of words that happened along in my head. So it was with great relief. So this word association process, he's really digging. And this is how it works. He does these three things, right? Writes down any word. Then I would take arms against the word or for it and bring on an assortment of characters to weigh the word and show me its meaning in my own life. So he has this word, and then he takes arms against it or for it. So he either is like, I love this word, or he's like, I hate this word. And then he's going to bring on an assortment of characters to weigh the word. Well, I don't think that word's very good. Well, I think that word's very good, right? So he has these different characters, all these different voices, and show me its meaning in my own life. An hour or two later, to my amazement, a new story would be finished and done. The surprise was total and lovely. I soon found I would have to work this way for the rest of my life. So this is his new technique. Sit down, put down a word or a series of words, start to think about it, throw it in some characters' minds, throw it back and forth with the different people, think about it, all their different perspectives, and then boom, a story is born. Okay, so this is his word association process that he's using. So now we're going to go through here to attempt to find one word for him that was the key to understanding John Huff. This is too specific. We didn't see John Huff anywhere in that paragraph. So that's going to be out. Often reject a word as not being a catalyst for meaningful writing. Now, there is this idea of arms against the word or for it. So there is half of this seems like he might be rejecting a word, but let's maybe make this a maybe for now. Deliberately choose to write only about a word that inspired his fears. No, if anything, he seems to be writing about like words that are like here or there, and his overall feeling in this section, his overall context, feeling, vibe, as I like to say, is very positive. Man, I stumbled across this amazing way of brainstorming and writing, and it's word association. Here's how it works. I wake up in the morning, I sit down, I write down a few words, I think about those words, and wow, now I have these ideas, and then I have some characters in my head, and they like debate these ideas, and then at the end of the day, I have a story. It works out really well. Feel as though he were struggling to find a word's significance to him. And that sounds reasonable. This whole fears thing seems like too narrow, and the only seems very extreme. So be very skeptical of answers that don't need the context. That's the next thing I'm going to think about. And that's why B is sort of sounding a little bit weird to me. Often reject a word. So I'm going to piece down B a little bit, one word at a time, okay? We're going to take it word by word. Often. What does often mean? Often means a lot. So this is a little bit of an extreme word, right? So I'm going to mark my extreme words. Reject. What's the tone of reject? The tone of reject is negative. I'm going to make it green. Reject. As not being a catalyst for meaningful writing. Now let's isolate the second half of this. Another technique that I love to do is isolating my answers so that I can really get a grip on what they mean. A word is not being a catalyst for meaningful writing. Not being a catalyst. Isn't this whole paragraph about, what's the main idea of the whole paragraph? What's the context? Again, context is king. The context here is, wow, I stumbled across this great way to create meaningful writing. This is part of that process. So even if he rejects a word, rejecting that word is part of the catalyst for his meaningful writing. Do you get what I'm saying? The other thing is this is saying that in his word association, that he comes up with a word in his word association, and some of the words he throws away. It says any word that happened along in my head. I would then take arms against the word or for it and bring on an assortment of characters to weigh the word and show me its meaning in my own life. He never throws out any words in here if you look closely. He might be battling against the word, but it never says that he dumps the word and he says, that word's crap and that's not going to help me. If anything, the whole vibe of this is that this whole word association process is all a catalyst for good writing. The whole process is a catalyst. So it's weird to say that within this process, sometimes the process falls flat and oftentimes it's not a catalyst. It's not being a catalyst for meaningful writing. This is weird in context because the whole point of the context is that everything he's doing, I'm taking arms against it or for it, and then I bring in the characters and then they weigh the word and then we figure it out and then I think about its meaning in my life and then suddenly I start writing and wow, my piece is finished. All of this whole snowball of stuff is part of the process that is the catalyst for meaningful writing. So the not being a catalyst for meaningful writing doesn't actually fit with the context. And this is weird. This is extreme. Often reject a word. It says he takes arms against a word or for the word, right? Sometimes he fights against the word or sometimes he fights for it, but then these other characters weigh in and they think, oh, I don't like this word. Oh, I like this word, but it's still part of the process of catalyzing his good writing, regardless of whether he rejects the word or accepts the word. He's not rejecting it as not being a catalyst for meaningful writing. He's rejecting it as being something maybe that he values in his own life. He's rejecting it maybe as a word that he thinks is important in his own life, but it's still a good catalyst for his writing, because then he can write about how much he thinks this is overrated, right? Even if it's an idea he doesn't like, that doesn't mean he throws out the word as a catalyst for good writing. It just means that he's stating his opinion, and then these other characters in his head start bringing their opinions, and it then becomes like a circle around a couple of random words that then accumulates into ideas and meaningful writing. So this as not being a catalyst for meaningful writing is really a problem. So then we have feel as though he were struggling. Now here's the other thing that I want to take a break and compare. So sometimes with these answer choices, what I can do is I can compare different little pieces. This says often reject a word. This says struggling to find a word's significance. So the difference between these two answer choices is B is often reject. The vibe of that is just negative, negative. I often, a lot of the time, just ditch the words, negative. That's not the vibe of this section. The vibe of this section is, wow, I have this really cool word association practice that I do, and it's awesome. And like, I'm able to write really wonderful stories when I toss around these words and figure out what it means. And I'm like, oh, no, you word. And then, oh, I love this word. And then the characters come in and they're like, I think this. And then they're like, oh, I think this, right? And he has all these voices, and then story is born, right? That's the idea. Struggling has that 50-50. That arms against it or for it, right? You see how it has 100% of that vibe as opposed to 50% of that vibe just against. She said this is only against. Reject is only against. It's only 50% of what I read. Arms against or for it. This doesn't have any of the for it. And then this just doesn't make sense because it's all a catalyst for meaningful writing. Even if he doesn't like the word, it still catalyzes his meaningful writing because that's the whole idea of the whole section. To find a word's significance to him, yes, because if we keep reading in the sentence, to show me its meaning in my own life, that's the significance of this word to him. He is not throwing out words. He is not saying, oh, some of the words that happen along in my head are crap, and I just throw them in the trash can of my mind, and I am mad that they even came up because they're not helping me write better. Silly words, get out of my way. Man, no, his point is any word. He can come up with any word. He's not rejecting any of the words that come to mind. That's the whole point of this brilliant word association thing. He just comes up with anything, and it always works. And the vibe here is positive, positive, positive. So a couple of lessons here on why our answer choice is going to be D and not B. Again, context is king. I want to really understand the context and the purpose of the context and basically the vibe of the context and the opinion of the author and what the whole idea is. I want to hone in on that. Okay, so when I do that, it makes it clearer. 2, I'm going to be skeptical of answers without context. Without context, this looks pretty good because I think take arms against. Oh yeah, that's rejecting something. I'm rejecting the word. That's what it sounds like when I isolate that. This part though is the real problem because when we really zoom out and think about it, this whole process is a catalyst for meaningful writing. The whole process is. Whether he likes the word or doesn't like the word, it still helps him get to a story. And so to reject this word and saying, oh man, I'm not getting any meaningful writing out of this. This is junk. This isn't helping me. And this often is really extreme. And D is just more on vibe with the whole thing. So try to find something that isn't too extreme, that's 100%, that really makes sense given the context, and that doesn't in some weird way kind of contradict the entire point of the whole paragraph. I know it's hard because it seems like I would take arms against the word, but we don't have the or and for it. And this struggle versus reject, this is more balanced. This is more on vibe. So watch your vibe. If you find something that seems too negative, that has a couple words that are too extreme, be really skeptical of those words. And if we don't have support for those in the passage, there could be a problem with the answer choice. So there you go. A really hard question, but that's kind of how you can unpack it. I hope you found that helpful. And we're going to move into one more. Passage A explains, when writing about character John Huff, what did Bradbury have? So we got to look up what's he doing with John Huff. I borrowed my friend John Huff from childhood in Arizona and shipped him east to Greentown so I could say goodbye to him properly. John Huff. So what he does, he takes John Huff from childhood, he ships him east to Greentown. So John is actually from Arizona, but in the story, John is in Greentown, right? So placed John in a town in Arizona. No, he took John from Arizona. He didn't place him in Arizona. Included John in stories about a town in Arizona. No, John lived in Arizona with Bray when they were kids. Now he shipped him east to Greentown. Moved, yes, and moved is in quotes because he's not actually moving him because we're talking about memories.
This is all like the writing process, right? Don't take this literally. John, to a town other than the town in which real life town had grown up, correct. Borrow John to use as a minor character in many of his stories. No, it didn't say in many of his stories. This is one specific story. He's got to say a proper goodbye to him in Greentown. There's specifics. I know this is wrong because this is too plurally. I don't need plurally. It's just one.
I hope you guys like this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. You can check out more videos here at SupertutorTV. We've got lots more ACT prep videos. And if you're looking for the best score possible, definitely check out the best ACT prep course ever at SupertutorTV.com. We have over 100 hours, an insane amount of prep material with lots of input on how you can completely crack this exam. So go check it out. And I will see you guys next time at SupertutorTV. Ciao for now.